Last time on D&D featuring Calliope Laurelleaf, the Halfling Bard, Ellie Jobel, the Gnome Ranger Rogue, Phelan, the High Elf Cleric, Talarin, the Wood Elf Ranger, Trogdor, the Dragonborn Barbarian, Torpo, the Hill Dwarf Wizard, and Alaric Lysane, the Human Fighter. Alright, session 17 was a little bit different than normal. Anita, who had been playing D&D a few times prior to my DMing for her and her friends, she had played a few times at a brewery known as Battlemage. At Battlemage, she had played, I think, for a month or two prior to me discovering that she was playing, because she had posted on Facebook a picture of a DM screen that was very similar to mine. It's a wooden one that has like a few designs on it. I had just gotten one for Christmas with my name on it and a big D20 and stuff like that. So when I saw it, I was like, hey, that looks exactly like my DM screen. Are you playing D&D? And she'd been playing at Battlemage for, I think it was a month or two. And so here we are, we're about 17 sessions into me DMing, and she'd still been playing at Battlemage once a week over there. And she had said she was interested in DMing. And so I said, hey, for this session, let's do a surprise. Let's not tell any of the other players what's about to happen, but let's do a thing where I'll just randomly generate some level 1 characters, and in the middle of, or at the start of my campaign for tonight, we'll swap out where you become the DM and I become a player, and everyone just picks some of these level 1 characters to play for this one-shot session of you DMing for your friends. And so we both agreed and thought it was a great idea. So with that said, here's what happened. The party, along with the rest of the caravan, begins their journey up to Longstone Mountains, which is covered in snow. The further up they go, the temperature continues to drop rapidly, with more fog rolling in, making the visibility ahead very, very difficult to see more than 5 feet in front of them. This essentially requires the caravan to come to a crawling speed, so that several people have to get out and lead the caravans by hand to ensure that horses or wheels don't go off the edge and tumble down the side of the mountain. The caravan eventually reaches their next stop, which is a very large cave where the caravan steeds are kept way in the back so that they are away from the cold. A roaring fire is put at the mouth of the cave so that the smoke goes outward but keeps the warm breeze inside the cave. A wizard mentioned that it is his 60th birthday, and someone he's hired to record his stories is a halfling bard named Bart. Bart is a reference to one of my players' husbands, and he'll be performing because he is actually really a guitarist in real life. He actually plays in a band. Having heard of Bart, Calliope, who's actually married to him, that's her husband in real life, asked to join him on stage. Ellie gathers the donations to be made for the wizard and the pockets of some which, she's collected on the down low, and passes out drinks, drinking some of the drinks before she even passes them out. Phelan and Torpo help by creating magical effects during the stories and during the songs, with Talarin and Trogdor and Alaric acting as bouncers to ensure that no one gets out of control. Even Cortel Barrowspear, who was the human from our last session who had hired all those other adventurers to protect his caravan, even he seems to be enjoying himself in this merriment of fun and enjoyment, and perhaps it is just because it is a break away from the cold to take his mind off the fact that they are literally almost freezing. After the musical celebration, Calliope gathers everyone's attention and says, "Let me tell everyone an enchanting story of several heroes just like most of us here." It's at this time, Anita steps in as Dungeon Master at this point, and I take over her seat. Everyone is really, really shocked as to what's going on, and then I lay out a bunch of level 1 characters and say, everyone pick a character. So Amy, who played Torpo, picks up Corey Dawnheart, which is a Goliath monk. I picked up Talaris Hopebringer, which is a Tiefling Paladin, which I was actually also playing at Battlemage with Anita after I learned she was playing there. Albert, who plays Talarin, he picks up the Hill Dwarf Cleric named Rorik. David, who plays Trogdor, he picks up the Half-Orc Sorcerer named Seamus McFlurry. And mind you, they've named these characters. I've just had the blank character sheets out. Jessica, who played Phelan, picks up the High Elf Ranger named Kishara Nalo. And then Melinda, who originally played Calliope, picks up the Hill Dwarf Rogue named Hilda Blackfoot. Calliope explains that everyone in this group, except for Hilda Blackfoot, had pretty much been traveling together. They had been hired together at times, not as a group, but ironically, they had been employed by several people and worked together a number of times. They ended up at a tavern where some rich-looking children were picking on lesser, well-off children. Teleris, having been raised by gypsies, understood what it was like to be a child who was not well off, who was poor, and basically lived off the streets doing what they could to earn their food. He attempted to warn the well-off children to leave the kids alone. The children did not listen, so Teleris made his eyes glow to appear threatening, using his thaumaturgy skill. Still, they did not leave. One of the children went as far as pushing Teleris. Though striking a child did not seem appropriate, no one else seemed to be coming to this young boy's defense that Teleris was trying to protect. And Teleris felt that perhaps his god Valentgard, who is a god of strength, had placed him here for a reason. So, Teleris reached out and struck the leader of the children, which happened to be the one that had pushed him. He'd give them ample warning, but they were just not listening. Justice had to be dispensed. The child warned that he would summon his father and that Teleris would be thrown in jail forever. A patron at the bar approached Teleris and explained that he liked what he did defending the innocent child from these bullies, but that bully he punched was the son of one of the high-ranking constables and would undoubtedly, as his child said, try to imprison Teleris if he was caught. The man ended up purchasing Teleris a drink and said, before he comes back with his father, I could certainly use your help. And that perhaps of your friends also. There's a caravan that's headed to Felidin. If you'd like to go with it, I have urgent business there to attend to, and I could use someone like your strength and potential to help make sure that things go correctly. Offering payment for the job, everyone accepted as he explained that there had been a forge of spells until one day orcs swept through the land and seized the Echo Caves, and the location was supposedly lost over time. The man, Sildar Hallwinter, explained that he and some of his friends of his, dwarven brothers named Rockseekers, may have found an entrance to the cave. If you've not figured out yet, Anita is essentially DMing Lost Mines of Phandalin. The party gets on the wagon and travels down the forested road where night approaches and the party decides to stop for the night rather than chance any exhaustion, in the event that brigands or anything else might be along these well-traveled roads. Kishara takes first watch and awakens the party when she hears some wild boars. Seamus uses a light spell on the rock and throws it in the direction of the wild boars, scaring them off. Teleris takes second watch where nothing seems to happen. The following morning, the party continues and eventually finds the road ahead of them to be blocked by two dead animals. Teleris, Corey, and Seamus go to investigate and find that one of them is a horse and one of them is a mule. This seems like it could be the companions that they were following. Just then, two goblins rush out from the brush. Seamus uses Chromatic Orb as an acid spell and scores a critical hit, just as Rurik casts Sacred Flame, doubling his damage as well. A third goblin fires from the brush and hits Seamus, reducing him down to 0 health in one shot. But his half-orc blood surges through him and he stands back up with 1 hit point. Corey climbs up the side and finds the goblin that fired at Seamus and kills it, while the fourth one flees. Both Teleris and Kishara fire at their bows, but miss. The party decides to give chase since the horse appears to have belonged to Sildar, the man who hired them, and the pony is undoubtedly that of one of the Rockseeker brothers. Avoiding several traps along the way, the party makes it to the mouth of the cave where Corey, with Rorik on her shoulder, crosses the river and is ambushed. Corey attempted to attack the goblins and instead critical fails with her sword, throwing it into the bushes. Teleris and Kishara arrive and engage, and manage to kill the two goblins who had ambushed them after a considerable amount of time, but everyone has taken some damage. The party moves off to the side just far enough away from the cave entrance not to be easily spotted so that they can hide in the brush, but close enough to keep an eye on the mouth of the cave and take a rest. The party, now rested, moves inside the cave where they hear snarling and see several wolves chained to a stalactite. Fearing that the wolves, clearly straining to break out of their chains, will pursue the party inside the cave, Teleris decides they should put the wolves down. Stepping inside, he is attacked viciously and Kishara also steps inside, followed by Curry. Together they manage to do some damage, but not before Teleris is taken down, followed by Kishara, and with Seamus out of spells and Rourke running low on spells, it seems things are about to end for our great heroes before it has even begun. But in good storytelling fashion, in comes another. Hilda Blackfoot, the dwarven rogue, has come to the rescue. She fires a shot and lands a critical hit, killing one of the wolves. The other two, desperately wounded, are killed by Curry and Seamus. Hilda introduces herself while Rorik tends to Teleris and Kishara. Hilda explains that she had overheard what Sildar had said and had been trailing the party to see what might come of it, and seeing them having trouble against the wolves, she decided to reveal herself and help. The party moves on and spots a goblin on the bridge. Kishara fires and hits it, doing considerable damage but not enough to kill it before uttering a warning. Its life is extinguished when Teleris fires another arrow. The goblin falls into the stream, which is noticeably moving faster in regards to the current, and suddenly a large rush of water is unleashed, sweeping Teleris Kishara downstream. Rurik and Hilda are next to be swept downstream as the water continues. Eventually, it evens out and the party is reunited. Continuing up the path, they encounter 3 goblins. Curry rushes up to one, killing it, followed by Teleris killing one, and then Kishara killing one. Teleris explains that Hilda's arrival is a sign of his god, for she appeared when they were needed, and he feels that this is his god watching over him now, and that she was meant not to be a part of the band originally, to show up when she did, because that's when she would be needed. The party continues up the path where they encounter a bugbear, Clark, and his wolf Ripper, along with 2 goblins. Teleris and Corey rush in against Clark, while Ripper manages to take down Seamus. As the fighting rages on, there is blood spilled on each side, but eventually it is Corey who delivers the killing blow on Clark, and Kishara who kills Ripper. The other 2 goblins are easily killed afterwards. The party secures the room and begins to take inventory of the treasure. But their mystery remains. Where is Sildar Hallwinter and his companion? Calliope smiles and says, "Well, that'll be a tale for another time." And that was the end of where we stopped for the night, with Anita having DM'd part of the Lost Mines of Phandalin with these other characters. It was a fun thing to do. It was great to see the shock and surprise on everyone's faces, as the players did not realize what was happening when Anita and I switched places. It's stuff like that I wish that I had either recorded on film or at least got on audio, which is why I'm so glad it's many sessions later afterwards, but I started recording my D&D sessions after the pandemic hit, so that I had all these recordings and all these moments captured on audio. And when I get to those for doing these last time on D&D, I'm going to actually use those audios instead of me reading the notes as to what happened, because that way you'll have the actual audio of the players talking and engaging. You get to hear all the fun stuff that happens. Unfortunately for the Arrival, all of this was done in person, and none of us anticipated this pandemic would hit. And so nothing was ever recorded. There was no audio. There's a few videos that I made, like when I gave gifts to them and stuff like that for the Christmas episode that I just talked about in the previous episode. But overall, all of this was done in person. None of it was recorded in any way, which is a shame, because there was a lot of fun moments that happened throughout these games that are just only stuck in my memory now, and no way to easily share with everyone without just basically going over the notes. But that doesn't really capture the feel of it all. So that'll do it for this session, and we're almost done, because this only goes up to 19 before the pandemic hit and this game came to an end, or an indefinite pause, if you will. It still has not continued, and here we are in June of 2023. All right, see you in the next episode soon.